My name is Robert Kenner, and I'm the director of Food Inc. I'm a filmmaker. I'm not a social activist. I'm not a food activist. But I became curious to find out where our food is made, what's in it, and how it gets to us, and what it does to us. I thought that would be sort of an easy question when I began. I didn't realize how difficult it is to try to find out what's in our food and how these large food production companies, these industrial food makers, really want to keep you from understanding what's in the food, and they'll do everything to stop you from knowing. For me, the most surprising thing was when I went to a hearing on whether we should label cloned meat. And I hadn't realized we have cloned meat in our food system. But the real surprising thing was when a representative from the meat industry said, I don't think consumers should know this information. We shouldn't put it on labels because it would be just too confusing. So I wasn't aware of how much information is being kept from us. And I always thought if you live in a free society, if you live in a, if you're part of a free market, one consumer's decisions should be based on information. And the fact is so much of this information is being denied to us. And I think that's just totally un-American, and it's wrong. Well, I think ultimately how large this food movement is and how all-encompassing it is. And it's made up of many different groups. It's made up of environmentalists, it's made up of animal welfare people, it's made up of social justice people for the workers who are being exploited. It's made up of people who are concerned about health because this food, this industrial food that makes up 98% of the supermarket is ultimately, it might be cheap, but ultimately it's too costly. And it's understanding the high cost of this cheap food and realizing, though, as people start to understand it, these movements that are out there are, I think, and as we start to learn about what this food is doing to us, I really believe this is something that's going to change. And ultimately, I also hope, as these local movements continue to grow, that it will sort of grow democracy, because so much of what's being denied us, it's not only bad food that we're getting, I think it's a corruption of democracy and our First Amendment rights. We are producing this food and it's almost all based on gasoline and oil. And if you believe in peak oil, this is a food system that can't go on. So we have to figure out how to make a transition. We need to figure out how to find new methods for feeding the world. We have 6 billion people now. 1 billion go to bed hungry. 1 billion are either overweight or obese, all caused by the same problems of subsidizing corn and soy. But I think that we have to figure out a new system for feeding what will become 9 billion people with less resources. And it's going to take science, and it's going to take real science. It's not going to become from vegans or animal rights activists. It's going to be mothers who haven't thought about it, who all of a sudden are becoming concerned. They're feeding food that's not good to their children. And that's, I think, going to be one of the big leaders in helping to change this food system. And that we can get people who have not been active to become active, because we all want good food. And it crosses all ideological boundaries. Well, I'm surprised by how effective a film can be. I didn't realize, how much change we can make. But I think we have to get out and ultimately, sometimes I get depressed by what's going on, and I realize you have to get out, you have to fight for change. And people are really ready to listen and ready to grow and change, and it's possible. That we don't sort of continue to consume such vast amounts of energy that are not making us happy. It's not making it a better place with all of our consumption, and that we have to learn to think about how do we consume less and make it a better planet. I think that's going to be the big challenge. But the good part of that is things that we can do to help the planet are also going to help us as individuals, because this food at the moment is not making us well, and it's destroying our communities. So I think as we start to improve it, we're going to get better, and our communities are going to get better, and be a more interesting world.